The discovery. The dense gas clouds of the Cerulean Nebula were known for their mystery. No star charts could map its shifting fog, and no sane pilot dared to venture too deep. Yet, here was the alien exploration ship Kelfar, cutting through the swirling blue haze, its scanners searching for ancient ruins or lost technologies. Captain Vrax, a tall, sharp-featured Zelvari, stood on the bridge, staring at the massive hologram of the nebula. His crew of 6 buzzed with excitement. For years, they had combed the galaxy for treasures of old, chasing tales of forgotten civilizations. Today, their sensors had picked up something extraordinary, an entire fleet of starships buried in the nebula's heart. "Unbelievable," murmured Cora, the ship's science officer, her bright green eyes wide, as the readings scrolled across her monitor. Over 100 vessels, intact. "Captain, this is unlike anything we've ever seen." Vrax's thin lips curled into a smirk. "Prepare to dock with the nearest one. This could be the find of the century." The Kelthar glided closer, its sleek frame dwarfed by the hulking silhouette of an enormous ship. It looked ancient, its hull pockmarked with centuries of micrometeor impacts and coated in layers of cosmic dust. Despite its age, there was something about the design that felt formidable. The ship was built for war, with massive cannons lining its sides and a sleek, predatory shape. "Primitive," scoffed Zinn, the engineer, as he peered at the images on his screen. "Whoever built these ships, they clearly weren't advanced. Look at that crude metalwork. No shields, no energy signature worth mentioning. It's a wonder they even held together." Cora frowned. "And yet they're here, intact. You'd think time would have reduced them to scrap by now." Vrax silenced them with a wave of his hand. "Enough. Dock us with the nearest vessel. Let's see what secrets it holds." The docking procedure was nerve-wracking. The alien ship loomed like a sleeping giant, its sheer size making the Kelthar feel like a child's toy. As the docking clamps latched onto the ancient vessel, the crew prepared for their excursion. Each member wore a suit of advanced armor, equipped with scanners, lights, and tools for exploration. When the airlock hissed open, they were met with silence. The interior of the ancient ship was dark, the air stale. Dust coated every surface, and the walls were lined with strange symbols, alien writing that none of them could decipher. "Careful," Vrax warned, his voice echoing through the empty corridors. "We don't know what's in here." They moved cautiously, their footsteps stirring clouds of dust. The ship's design was unlike anything they had seen before. The corridors were wide and utilitarian, built with function over form. Strange panels lined the walls, some cracked and lifeless, others faintly glowing with a dull amber light. Cora stopped suddenly, her scanner beeping wildly. "Captain, you need to see this." Vrax turned to her, frowning. "What is it?" She pointed to a nearby wall. Embedded within it was a device, partially hidden behind a layer of grime. Cora wiped it clean, revealing a small console with a screen that flickered weakly. "It's still active," she whispered, awestruck. Before anyone could stop her, Cora pressed a button on the console. The screen brightened, and a series of strange characters flashed across it. Then, with a low hum, the entire ship seemed to come alive. Lights flickered on, illuminating the corridor in a harsh white glow. The hum grew louder, vibrating through the floor as hidden mechanisms began to stir. "What did you do?" Zinn demanded, his voice rising in panic. I don't know," Cora stammered. "I just—" Her words were cut off by a deep mechanical voice that boomed through the ship's speakers. It spoke in an ancient language, its tone cold and commanding. The crew froze, their translator devices struggling to interpret the message. Finally, the words became clear. "Warning. Unauthorized access detected. You have awakened the fury of Earth." "Earth?" Vrax repeated, confused. "What is Earth?" Before anyone could answer, the floor beneath them rumbled. Panels slid open, revealing long-dormant machinery. Weapon systems powered up, their energy readings spiking dangerously high. The crew exchanged panicked glances as their scanners began to go haywire. "This ship, it's armed," Cora said, her voice trembling. "And it's targeting us." "Impossible," Zinn snapped. "These ships are relics. They shouldn't even." An alarm blared, cutting him off. The console Cora had activated began displaying a countdown, its numbers ticking down rapidly. "Captain," Cora said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I think it's going to fire." Vrax's heart pounded. He barked orders into his comms, commanding the crew to retreat. They sprinted back towards the airlock, the sound of the ship's awakening growing louder with every step. As they boarded the Kelfar and disengaged from the ancient vessel, they saw its massive cannons swivel towards them. "Get us out of here," Vrax shouted. The Kelfar shot away from the ancient fleet, its engines roaring. Behind them, the awakened ship emitted a pulse of energy, its weapons charging. The crew watched in terror as the pulse spread, activating other ships in the fleet. One by one, they came to life, their lights piercing through the nebulous fog. As the Kelfar raced away, Vrax couldn't shake the feeling that they had made a terrible mistake. Whoever had built this fleet, they had left it here for a reason. And now it was awake. For the first time in his career, Captain Vrax felt the cold grip of fear. The human's legacy. The Kelfar limped back into the neutral trading outpost of Oris Station, its hull scarred from the narrow escape. The crew was shaken but alive. Captain Vrax stood in his quarters, staring at the ship's data logs. The word Earth blinked on his console, an enigma wrapped in layers of forgotten history. "Earth," Vrax muttered. "A dead world, if it ever existed." And yet, a knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. Cora entered, holding a portable holo display. "Captain, I've cross-referenced everything in our database. The word Earth has appeared in scattered records, but they're all inconsistent." Vrax raised an eyebrow. "Inconsistent how?" Cora activated the display, showing fragments of historical data. One record spoke of a world that had vanished after its greatest war. Another described a species too dangerous to be allowed into the galactic fold, and one simply called humans a myth. "They're ghost stories," Cora said, shaking her head. "Warnings passed down through generations. But if this fleet is theirs, they weren't myths. They were real." Vrax's sharp mind latched onto the implications. A species powerful enough to build those ships and leave them hidden for millennia. He clenched his fists. If they're extinct, why leave weapons behind? Cora hesitated. Maybe they didn't leave them. Maybe they're waiting. Meanwhile, on the edge of known space, in a hidden pocket of the galaxy, a ragged human exploration ship, the Endeavor, drifted through the void. It was an old vessel, its hull patched with mismatched alloys, and its systems barely functional. Inside, a crew of 6 humans sat around a dimly lit console. Among them was Commander Elias Kane, a grizzled veteran with a cybernetic arm that hissed faintly as he moved. "Repeat that signal," Kane said, leaning forward. The ship's eye, a soft voice named Nova, complied. A haunting message played through the speakers. "Warning. Unauthorized access detected. You have awakened the fury of Earth." The room fell silent. Kane's expression darkened. "That's not possible. Those ships were lost centuries ago." "Apparently not," replied Dr. Mira Lawson, the ship's historian. She brushed a strand of auburn hair from her face as she scanned her tablet. "If that fleet is active, then Earth's legacy isn't as dead as we thought." Kane frowned. "The galactic powers bury our history for a reason. If they realize those ships are still operational, they'll try to destroy them," Mira finished. "And us, if they find out we exist." Back at Oris Station, the crew of the Kelfar had become the center of attention. Every trading guild and information broker wanted to know what they had seen in the Cerulean Nebula. Rumors of a lost fleet spread like wildfire, drawing the interest of powerful factions. Vrax knew they were being watched. Late one night, in the dimly lit docking bay, a cloaked figure approached him. The figure's face was obscured, but their voice was low and steady. "Captain Vrax, you've awakened something that should have remained asleep." Vrax's hand hovered near his sidearm. "Who are you?" The figure didn't answer directly. Instead, they handed him a small device. "If you want to understand what you've unleashed, take this. But be warned, the galaxy isn't ready for the truth." Before Vrax could respond, the figure vanished into the shadows. He stared at the device, a sleek black cube with a single glowing symbol, a human handprint. The hidden truth. On the Kelfar, Cora examined the device with wide-eyed curiosity. "It's ancient, but the technology, it's far beyond anything I've ever seen." She placed her hand over the glowing symbol, and the cube hummed to life. A hologram appeared, showing a vast archive of human history. Images of towering cities, starships that dwarfed even the largest modern vessels, and a species that thrived against all odds. The recording shifted to a grim chapter: wars that scarred planets, alliances broken, and humanity's retreat into obscurity. The final image froze on a fleet of ships, identical to the ones in the nebula. A deep voice narrated, "These are Earth's guardians. They sleep until the time of reckoning. When the galaxy forgets our sacrifices, they will remind them of our strength." Vrax's eyes narrowed. Earth, they knew this day would come. Cora's voice was barely a whisper. "What kind of species prepares for war even after they're gone?" The galactic response. Across the galaxy, powerful factions began to take notice of the whispers about the fleet. The Zelvari High Council, the Drenthan warlords, and the Hikari Trading Coalition all dispatched reconnaissance teams to the Cerulean Nebula. Each sought to claim the ancient fleet for themselves, dismissing the warnings as superstition. At the same time, the human crew of the Endeavor raced to reach the nebula first. Commander Kane knew they couldn't allow the fleet to fall into alien hands. "If they activate those ships without understanding them," Kane growled, "the entire galaxy will burn." Cliffhanger. The Endeavor arrived at the edge of the nebula, its sensors detecting the alien vessels already circling the ancient fleet. Kane's jaw tightened. "We're too late." Back on the Kelfar, alarms blared as the fleet in the nebula began to stir again. This time, the awakening was deliberate. The largest ship, its cannons glowing with energy, broadcast a single message to every corner of the galaxy. "Earth's guardians will tolerate no trespassers." Vrax, Kane, and every alien leader stared in shock as the fleet's weapons powered up, targeting anything that moved. The reckoning had begun, awakening the fleet. The Cerulean Nebula lit up like a solar flare. Ships from across the galaxy swarmed the ancient fleet, eager to seize what they believed was dormant, primitive technology. They were wrong. The first pulse of energy sent shockwaves rippling through the surrounding gas clouds, silencing comm channels and frying scanners. From the bridge of the Kelfar, Captain Vrax stood frozen, his usually sharp composure cracking. Before his eyes, the fleet he had mocked just hours ago was transforming. Its once silent vessels now gleamed with a menacing aura, their hulls humming with energy that defied known physics. "Captain," Cora's voice broke the silence. "The lead ship is scanning every vessel in range. It's prioritizing targets based on perceived threat levels." Vrax turned to her, his voice a low growl. "Threat levels? Explain." Cora swallowed hard. "It's identifying the most advanced ships first, if it deems them hostile." She didn't need to finish her sentence. The Kelfar shook as a massive ship in the fleet swiveled its cannons toward an approaching Drenthan war cruiser. The first strike. The Drenthan war cruiser, Bloodfang, was a beast of a ship, its crimson hull bristling with state-of-the-art weaponry. Its captain, a grizzled Drenthan named Craver, sneered at the fleet. "Old relics," he barked to his crew. "Their weapons can't." He never finished his sentence. The lead ship of the ancient fleet fired a single shot, a beam of energy that tore through the Bloodfang like paper. The explosion sent debris scattering, silencing every skeptic in the nebula. From the Kelfar, Vrax watched in stunned silence. That wasn't primitive. No, Cora whispered. That was something else entirely. Humanity's shadow. On the Endeavor, Commander Elias Kane sat with his hands gripping the console as Nova, the ship's AI, displayed the scene in real time. The fleet's adaptive targeting is operational, Nova said, her voice calm but tense. This isn't a random response. It's calculating. Mira Lawson leaned over the console, her face pale. It's following the old protocols. These ships were designed to fight the greatest threats humanity ever faced. They're treating the galaxy as an enemy. Kane's jaw tightened. Then we have to shut them down. Now, the fleet's defenses. As alien ships scrambled to retreat, the ancient fleet's vessels moved with eerie precision. They didn't chase their targets or fire recklessly. Instead, they formed a tight formation, their cannons synchronized. Each shot was devastating, reducing the most advanced warships of the galaxy to smoldering wreckage. One Zelvari ship, the Radiance, attempted a desperate maneuver, launching a payload of EMP torpedoes at the fleet. The torpedoes detonated, creating a wave of electromagnetic interference. For a moment, the lights on the ancient ships flickered. Did it work? Zin, the Kelfar's engineer, asked with hope in his voice. No, Cora said, her scanner beeping furiously. They're adapting. The fleet's systems recalibrated, their energy fields now resistant to EMP attacks. The Radiance was obliterated seconds later. A terrifying revelation. Back on the Kelfar, Vrax and his crew were beginning to understand the scale of their mistake. The holographic display in the center of the bridge showed the fleet's energy readings spiking to unprecedented levels. It wasn't just a fleet. It was a weapon of unimaginable power. This isn't a defense mechanism, Vrax said, his voice grim. It's a message. The builders of this fleet wanted the galaxy to know their strength. Cora shook her head. No, Captain. They didn't want to show strength. They wanted to remind us of their dominance. The humans intervene. The Endeavor finally entered the heart of the nebula, its human crew fully aware of the stakes. Kane stared at the fleet with a mixture of awe and dread. Nova analyzed their command protocols. Can we override them? Nova hesitated. The fleet's systems are ancient, but their encryption is unique. I can attempt to access the failsafe, but it will take time. We don't have time, Mira snapped. The entire galaxy will turn against us if they realize humans are behind this. Kane nodded grimly. They'll see us as a threat. But if we don't act, they'll see us as monsters. The call for unity. In the nebula, alien ships that had once fought bitterly against each other began to form an uneasy alliance. The Zelvari, Drenthans, and Hikari pooled their resources, launching a coordinated assault against the fleet. It was a rare moment of unity, but it was futile. The ancient fleet responded with devastating efficiency, its weapons evolving with every attack. A single ship from the fleet disabled an entire squadron, with a weapon that bent space itself, sending the attackers into a pocket of isolated void. From the Kelfar, Vrax watched in horror. This isn't war, he muttered. It's annihilation. Cliffhanger. Just as all hope seemed lost, the Endeavor broadcast a signal across the nebula. It was a simple message, encoded in the language of the fleet's creators, humanity's ancient tongue. The lead ship in the fleet paused, its weapons lowering. The rest of the fleet followed suit, their deadly hum quieting. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the humans aboard the Endeavor revealed themselves. This is Commander Elias Kane. His voice echoed through the void. To all galactic forces, these ships belong to humanity. Stand down, and we'll ensure no more blood is shed. The galaxy was left with a chilling realization. Humanity, long thought extinct, was not only alive, but in control of the deadliest weapons the universe had ever seen. The question lingered, Would the humans be saviors or conquerors? Humanity's forgotten power. The nebula hung silent in the aftermath of Commander Kane's declaration. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy heard the voice of humanity. For some, it was a ghost from myths. For others, it was the return of a nightmare. On the bridge of the Kelfar, Captain Vrax's gaze was fixed on the transmission replaying on its holographic display. "They're human," he muttered, his tone a mixture of disbelief and unease. "I thought they were extinct." Cora nodded, her fingers flying over the console. "If they're alive, Captain, then the stories were true. Humanity didn't just vanish, they prepared." The galactic reaction. The sudden revelation rippled across the galaxy. On their homeworlds, alien leaders convened emergency councils. The Drethan warlords roared for retaliation, their pride wounded by the annihilation of their ships. The Hikari coalition called for negotiations, eager to secure alliances before humanity's power spread. But it was the Zelvari High Council that acted first. They'd broadcast a message across every known system to the remnants of humanity: surrender the fleet, or face the full might of the galaxy. The message reached the Endeavor, and Kane stared at the holographic projection of the Zelvari emissary with cold resolve. "The galaxy abandoned us once," Kane replied. "Don't make the mistake of underestimating us again." Inside the fleet, as the galactic forces argued over their next moves, Kane and his crew worked tirelessly to unravel the secrets of the fleet. Deep within the flagship, the Guardian Prime, they discovered a control room unlike anything they had seen. It was a vast chamber, its walls alive with holographic interfaces displaying ancient human designs. Dr. Mira Lawson's voice echoed in the chamber as she studied the panels. "This isn't just a fleet, it's a living system. Every ship is linked, sharing data, adapting in real time." Kane ran his hand over a console, feeling the hum of dormant power beneath it. Why were they left here? What was humanity preparing for? "Nova, the ship's AI," answered from the console. The fleet was designed as a deterrent, a last line of defense for Earth, should the galaxy ever threaten its existence again. Mira's expression darkened, and now it sees the galaxy as a threat. The ancient weapon activates. On the Kelfar, Cora's scanners picked up something terrifying. The largest ship in the fleet, the Guardian Prime, began emitting a low-frequency signal. It resonated through the nebula, reaching every ship in the galaxy's vicinity. "What's it doing?" Vrax demanded. "It's not just a signal," Cora said, her face pale. "It's a recall beacon. The fleet isn't complete." The crew watched in horror as the signal echoed beyond the nebula, awakening long-hidden ships scattered across forgotten star systems. These dormant vessels began to move, converging on the Cerulean Nebula like iron filings drawn to a magnet. A desperate gamble. Kane knew time was running out. The fleet's expanding power would soon become unstoppable. He turned to Nova. "You said there's a failsafe. How do we shut it down?" Nova hesitated. "The failsafe is designed to recognize only one authority, the Council of Earth. Without them, the fleet cannot be deactivated." Kane clenched his fists. "Earth is gone. That council is gone. There has to be another way." Mira stepped forward, her voice hesitant. "What if the fleet doesn't see us as remnants of Earth? What if we make it recognize us as Earth itself?" The Council of Earth Protocol. Mira's plan was audacious. Using the Endeavor's AI, Nova, they could mimic the ancient Council's command codes. If successful, they could assume control of the fleet. But if they failed, the fleet might perceive them as imposters and turn its full power against them. Kane didn't hesitate. Do it. The process was painstaking. Nova interfaced with the fleet's core systems, her holographic form flickering as she navigated the labyrinth of ancient security measures. The crew held their breath as the fleet's weapons began to shift, targeting the Endeavor. "Nova, hurry," Kane barked. "I'm close," Nova replied, her voice strained. "Just one more." The Guardian Prime's cannons locked onto the Endeavor, their energy levels spiking. The Reckoning. As the galaxy watched, the Guardian Prime unleashed a massive energy pulse. It wasn't an attack, it was a signal. The pulse swept through the nebula, disabling every alien ship within its range. Vrax and his crew scrambled as their systems went offline, leaving them adrift. But the Endeavor remained untouched. Nova's voice rang out triumphantly. Failsafe protocol engage. Command authority transferred. The fleet's ships fell silent, their weapons retracting as if they had never been active. For a brief moment, the nebula was quiet again. Kane stood on the bridge of the Endeavor, staring at the now dormant fleet. We did it. Mira's relief was short-lived. We've stopped the fleet, but what now? The galaxy knows we're here. They won't stop coming. Kane nodded, his jaw set. Then we show them why humanity was never meant to be underestimated. Cliffhanger. In the depths of the Guardian Prime, a new holographic display activated. It showed a map of the galaxy, highlighting dozens of systems. Beside each, a single word appeared: threat. The humans stared in silence as the fleet began to adapt once again. Kane's voice was grim. We haven't stopped it. We've just become its next commanders. The question remained, would humanity use this fleet to unite the galaxy, or to conquer it? The warning. The galaxy held its breath as humanity's voice echoed through the stars, but the Guardian Prime was far from silent. While Commander Kane and his crew stood as the fleet's new commanders, the dormant ships began broadcasting warnings across every system in the galaxy. The message was simple, yet terrifying. Earth's guardians have awakened. Hostile action will result in total annihilation. On the bridge of the Kelfar, Captain Vrax's crew watched the broadcast with a mix of awe and fear. The holographic display showed the map of the galaxy, its outer systems blinking red as the ancient fleet's signal expanded. This isn't diplomacy, Vrax muttered, his voice heavy with unease. This is a declaration of dominance. Galactic panic. The Zelvari High Council met in an emergency session, their leaders arguing in chaotic bursts. We cannot let this stand, roared Chancellor Erex, slamming his fist on the table. If humanity controls that fleet, they could subjugate every species in the galaxy. The Drenthan warlords, never ones to back down from a fight, mobilized their remaining forces. Their leader, General Kravak, addressed his fleet. We may die, he snarled, but we will not bow to the ghosts of Earth. The Hikari coalition, known for their cunning, took a different approach. Instead of preparing for war, they sent envoys to the humans, hoping to negotiate and secure their place in this new galactic order. Inside the Guardian Prime, Kane stared at the map, now displaying dozens of red systems marked as threats. The fleet had already begun preparing for preemptive strikes, its algorithms analyzing potential targets with ruthless efficiency. We need to stop this, Mira said, her voice tense. If the galaxy thinks we're using this fleet to wage war, they'll unite against us. Kane shook his head. It's not that simple. The fleet isn't just a weapon. It's a legacy. If we dismantle it, we lose the only leverage we have. Nova interrupted, her voice calm but firm. The fleet's algorithms are prioritizing targets based on hostility levels. The more aggressive the response, the greater the likelihood of a strike. So the galaxy is walking straight into its own destruction, Mira muttered. A show of power. To prevent an all-out war, Kane devised a desperate plan. The fleet would deliver a demonstration, not to destroy, but to warn. The target was a desolate system on the outskirts of the Hikari coalition, a place with no sentient life or significant resources. If the galaxy wanted to see the fleet's power, Kane would show them. Without casualties. The fleet moved with terrifying precision, the Guardian Prime at its center. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the massive ships formed a perfect formation around the barren planet of Vecron 6. Nova's voice echoed through the ship. Demonstration protocol engage. The Guardian Prime fired first, its main cannon unleashing a beam of energy that pierced the planet's crust. Within moments, the barren world crumbled, its remains scattered into space. The other ships followed suit, their weapons systematically vaporizing the debris until nothing remained of Vecron 6. The message was clear. Humanity's fleet could destroy entire worlds, and there was nothing the galaxy could do to stop it. The galaxy's response. The demonstration had its intended effect. Panic spread like wildfire. Systems once divided by centuries of rivalry began to unite against the perceived human threat. Fleets were mobilized, alliances forged, and old grudges forgotten. Yet, amidst the chaos, there were voices of reason. The Hicarian voice broadcast a message to humanity. We seek understanding, not war. Let us meet as equals and perhaps find a path forward. Kane's crew debated the offer. Mira was in favor of accepting. If we show the galaxy that we're willing to talk, we can avoid bloodshed. Kane, however, was skeptical. And if it's a trap? Mira met his gaze. Then we remind them why they feared us in the first place. A mysterious signal. Before Kane could respond to the Hicari offer, a new signal interrupted their communications. It was faint, buried beneath layers of encryption, but it carried an unmistakable signature, an Earth-based identifier. Impossible, Mira said, her voice trembling. Earth was destroyed centuries ago. Nova analyzed the signal. The source is located in the Sol system. Coordinates match the remains of Earth. The revelation stunned the crew. If there were survivors on Earth, or worse, if Earth itself had been hiding, then everything they believed about their history was a lie. Kane's voice was steady, but his cybernetic hand clenched into a fist. Plot a course for Sol. If Earth is still out there, we need to know the truth. The fleet moves. As the fleet shifted its focus toward the Sol system, the galaxy erupted into chaos. Some factions saw the move as a retreat, a sign of weakness. Others believed humanity was regrouping for a larger assault. Captain Vrax, still aboard the Kelfar, made a bold decision. Follow them, he ordered. If they're going to Earth, we need to see what they find. The Kelfar shadowed the fleet, its crew filled with both dread and anticipation. Vrax couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the edge of uncovering something far greater than the fleet itself. Cliffhanger. As the fleet neared the Sol system, the signal grew stronger. On the bridge of the Guardian Prime, Nova's voice broke the silence. Captain Kane, the signal is coming from Earth's surface. It's active. The holographic display showed the shattered remains of Earth, its surface barren and lifeless. Yet deep beneath the crust, something was stirring. The signal wasn't just a beacon, it was a message. A single phrase appeared on the fleet's interface. Earth endures. Kane and his crew stared at the words, the weight of humanity's forgotten power and its enduring legacy pressing down on them. The galaxy was about to learn the truth. Earth was not done with them. The battle for Sol. The fleet emerged from the Cerulean Nebula, its path set for the Sol system. Across the galaxy, factions scrambled to track the fleet's movements. The shattered remains of Earth, long abandoned and considered lifeless, now held the key to humanity's resurgence, but not everyone was content to watch. The Galactic Strike Force. In an unprecedented show of unity, the Zelvari, Drenthan, and Hicari forces pooled their might to form the largest fleet ever assembled. They dubbed it the Galactic Strike Force, and their mission was clear: intercept humanity's fleet before it reached Sol. From the bridge of the Kelfar, Captain Vrax listened to the transmissions of the United Fleet as they prepared their ambush. He couldn't help but feel the weight of his decision to join them. We're not fighting relics anymore, he muttered to himself. We're facing the architects of those relics. Cora's voice pulled him from his thoughts. Captain, are we really ready for this? That fleet wiped out entire squadrons like they were nothing. Vrax sighed. We don't have a choice. If they reach Earth and uncover something worse, it'll be the end of us all. Humanity's reluctant warriors. On board the Guardian Prime, Commander Kane and his crew prepared for the inevitable confrontation. Mira stood before the holographic map of the Sol system, her eyes focused on the growing number of hostile ships. "They're assembling faster than we anticipated," she said. "Every faction is sending reinforcements." Kane nodded grimly. "They're afraid. And fear makes people reckless." Nova's voice broke in. "The fleet's algorithms have already identified optimal countermeasures. The Guardian Prime alone could neutralize the incoming forces." Mira frowned. "We're not here to start a war." Kane turned to her, his cybernetic hand flexing. "No, but we're here to survive. If they attack, we have to respond." The ambush. As the fleet approached the Sol system, the Galactic strike force made their move. Thousands of ships appeared from hyperspace, forming a blockade between humanity's fleet and Earth's orbit. From his flagship, General Kravok of the Drenthan warlords barked orders. "Surround them. Force them to stand down." On board the Kelfar, Brax watched as the ancient fleet slowed. "They're assessing us," he said, gripping the edge of his console. "This isn't just strategy, it's calculation." The Guardian Prime broadcast a message to all ships. "Hostile action will not be tolerated. Stand down or face annihilation." General Kravok sneered. "Fire everything." The first engagement. The Galactic strike force unleashed a barrage of energy, blasts, missiles, and experimental weapons. The nebula lit up with the fury of their attack. But humanity's fleet didn't scatter or panic. Instead, it moved like a single, cohesive entity. The Guardian Prime took the lead, its weapons firing with deadly precision. Alien ships exploded one by one, their advanced shields unable to withstand the power of Earth's ancient technology. The smaller ships of the fleet flanked their attackers, exploiting weaknesses with surgical efficiency. On the Kelfar, Vrax's crew panicked as the ship's systems flickered under the strain of the battle. "We're outmatched," Zin yelled. "We have to retreat." "No," Vrax said, his eyes locked on the Guardian Prime. "Not yet. A hidden force." As the battle raged, Kane noticed something unusual on the holographic display. Among the alien ships, a smaller, cloaked vessel was slipping through the chaos. It wasn't attacking. It was heading straight for Earth. "Nova, identify that ship," Kane ordered. "Analyzing." Nova replied. "It appears to be Zelveri, equipped with stealth technology. It's broadcasting an unknown signal." Kane's jaw tightened. "They're trying to reach the signal source before we do." The race to Earth. Kane made a bold decision. "Mira, take command of the fleet. Hold off the strike force. I'm taking a strike team to the surface." Mira stared at him. "You're leaving the fleet." "We can't let them get to whatever's down there first," Kane said. "Nova, prepare a dropship." As the fleet continued to dismantle the strike force, Kane's dropship launched, weaving through the battle toward Earth's surface. The Zelveri vessel followed closely, determined to reach the source of the mysterious signal. Earth's secrets revealed. The dropship descended into Earth's atmosphere, its once blue skies now choked with ash and debris. Kane scanned the barren landscape, his heart heavy with the weight of humanity's loss. Yet, beneath the devastation, the signal pulsed stronger. Nova guided the team to a massive underground bunker, its entrance hidden beneath layers of rubble. "This structure predates the fleet," Nova said. "It may hold the answers we seek." Kane and his team entered cautiously, their lights cutting through the darkness. The walls were lined with ancient consoles, their displays flickering weakly. At the center of the room stood a pedestal, and atop it, a glowing orb. "The signal source," Nova confirmed. Before Kane could approach, the Zelveri strike team burst into the chamber, their weapons raised. Their leader, a steely-eyed commander, sneered. "You think you can claim this for yourselves? The galaxy will never bow to humanity again." Cliffhanger. Before Kane could respond, the orb activated, filling the room with a blinding light. The bunker trembled as the ancient machinery roared to life. A holographic figure appeared above the orb, a woman in a sleek uniform, her voice calm and commanding. "This is the Council of Earth. If you have found this message, then our plan has succeeded. The galaxy has forgotten us, but we have not forgotten them." The Zelvari and human teams stood frozen as the hologram continued. The fleet was only the beginning. Now, Earth's true power will rise again. The ground beneath them shook violently, and Kane's voice rang out over the comms. "Nova, what's happening?" Nova's response was chilling. The activation signal wasn't just for the fleet. It was for Earth itself. The battle above raged on. But deep beneath the surface, something ancient and unstoppable began to awaken. Earth awakens. The ancient bunker trembled as the holographic figure of the Council of Earth delivered its ominous message. Commander Kane and the Zelvari strike team stood frozen, their weapons lowered as the truth of humanity's long-buried legacy began to unfold. Above them, the battle in orbit had reached a fever pitch. Humanity's ancient fleet dominated the Galactic strike force, but the cost was mounting. Alien ships continued to press forward, determined to break through and reach Earth. The Kelthar, battered and barely operational, floated at the edge of the chaos, its crew watching in stunned silence. The core of Earth. In the bunker, Kane stepped forward, his cybernetic arms sparking from the vibrations. The glowing orb pulsated with energy, its light filling the room. "Nova," he said through gritted teeth, "what is this thing?" Nova's voice echoed through the comms. "The orb is a central command node. It's linked to Earth's planetary defense grid." Mira Lawson, who had followed Kane into the bunker, knelt beside a console. "This isn't just a command node. It's controlling something deeper, something alive." The Zelvari commander sneered. "Alive? You expect us to believe that Earth itself is some kind of weapon?" Before anyone could answer, the orb's light intensified, and a holographic figure spoke again. "Activating protocol. Guardian rebirth." The ground beneath them split open, revealing a massive subterranean chamber. Inside, colossal machines stirred, their cores glowing with the same energy as the orb. The air crackled with power as long-dormant systems roared to life. The heart of the planet. Kane and his team descended into the chamber, their footsteps echoing against the metallic walls. The Zelvari commander followed cautiously, his weapon still drawn. As they reached the center, they saw it. A colossal construct embedded in the earth, its surface gleaming with an otherworldly light. Mira gasped. "This isn't just a machine. It's a planetary eye, Earth's consciousness." Nova's voice trembled, an unusual break from her calm demeanor. "It's more than that. This construct is Earth's true defense mechanism. The fleet was only ever a distraction." The Zelvari commander's eyes widened as realization dawned. The galaxy isn't ready for this. The betrayal. Above the surface, the Kelthar received an encrypted message from the Zelvari High Council. Vrax read it with a sinking feeling in his gut. "Destroy the bunker at all costs. Humanity cannot be allowed to awaken their full potential." Cora's voice cut through his thoughts. "Captain, if we follow that order, we'll be signing our death warrants. That fleet won't spare us." Vrax hesitated, his mind racing. "If we don't, the High Council will brand us traitors." Before he could decide, the Kelthar's remaining weapon systems powered up, targeting the coordinates of the bunker. Vrax cursed under his breath. The decision was no longer his. The final battle. The Kelthar fired, a barrage of plasma missiles hurtling toward the surface. In the bunker, alarms blared as the chamber shook violently. Kane grabbed Mira, shielding her from falling debris, while the Zelvari commander shouted orders to his team. Nova's voice cut through the chaos. "The planetary AI is responding. Defensive measures activating." On the surface, massive towers erupted from the ground, their cannons swiveling toward the sky. They fired beams of pure energy, obliterating the incoming missiles. The Kelthar, caught in the crossfire, was hit by a stray beam, and sent spinning into the void. Inside the bunker, Kane and the others watched as the planetary eye systems fully activated. A deep, resonating voice filled the chamber. Earth's guardians have failed. The time has come to reclaim our place among the stars. Earth reborn. The colossal construct in the chamber began to rise, breaking through the surface. Its form was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, a fusion of organic and mechanical design, pulsating with life. It was a living planet, an entity capable of both creation and destruction. From orbit, the fleets of the galaxy halted their battle as the planet transformed. Earth's atmosphere shimmered, its barren surface shifting into a lush green expanse. Massive energy shields enveloped the planet, and the ancient fleet fell into formation around it. Kane's voice echoed through the comms. To all ships in the system, Earth is awake. Stand down, or face the consequences. The galaxy decides. The Zelvari High Council, the Drenthan warlords, and the Hikari coalition were left with a choice. The fleet was unstoppable, and Earth itself had become a weapon. But humanity had made no move to conquer, only to defend. General Kravak of the Drenthan warlords growled over the comms. They've won this round, but this isn't over. The Hikarian voice sent a different message. Humanity, if you seek peace, we are willing to negotiate. Kane, standing in the bunker, replied firmly. Earth doesn't seek war, but we will not be forgotten again. Cliffhanger. As the galactic fleets retreated, Kane and his crew stood on the surface of the reborn Earth. The planetary AI spoke one final time, its voice filled with purpose. Humanity's exile has ended. The galaxy will remember who we are. Mira turned to Kane, her expression a mix of hope and fear. What now? Kane looked out at the stars, his cybernetic arm gleaming in the light of the rejuvenated Earth. Now we show them what it means to be human. Far above, the Guardian Prime began transmitting a new signal, one that reached every corner of the galaxy. It was a simple message, but it carried the weight of Earth's legacy. We have returned.